to our Canal Days video series with Robert Comu.
And what we're going to do today in Springfield, Massachusetts is we're going to talk about a beautiful church that's behind us. In this Trinity Church, we want to learn the history, how it was made, what materials, and also what the campus is all about. So, can you tell us about our whole program?
Yep. And we join Robert Comu, founder and creator of Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, as he brings the past to life with fascinating stories and captivating tours. Robert's extensive knowledge and passion for history make every tour an unforgettable experiences. From public tours and presentations to private bookings for group outings, there's something for everyone. Explore rich history of Massachusetts with Robert's guided tours of canals, cemeteries, churches, parks, and streets, also reservoirs and selected homes. And don't forget to visit holyokecanaltour.org for our Canal Days podcast and video series, as well as information, photos, and schedules for available tours. And you can also email him for private tours. Let's dive into the Trinity Church history together.
All right. This Trinity Episcopal Church has multiple components: a chapel, a church, a hall, a bell tower, and it must have another hall for school classes in the very back. So there's a lot of it going on here. And anything you want to learn today?
So, when was the Trinity Church?
This came here in 1924 and wasn't finished in 1929. They had to get money. And the Episcopal Church on all the United States is not incredibly large, but the people that want to be here are very devoted to it coming in. So about 100 years ago it started coming into this place, but it wasn't finished until 1929. And we'll talk about that beautiful brick too, and it has buttresses, so you're gonna have to know those. Okay, you can see it has stained glass windows typically, and you can see the windows are Gothic, and so it's a neo-Gothic or a Gothic revival church. And usually you'll have buttresses. These buttresses are so large that they actually might have a functional to them besides this ornamentation. On most neo-Gothic churches there is ornamentation. And there's no gargoyles, but you have a place where rain gutters up there, and they might spout out through these. I'd love to see it during a storm. All right, so the masonry rock seems to be granite. Now there's multiple components to the entire campus, so we have to go through them. The church was the last one put in, believe it or not, and that's because they have a chapel coming in here. All right, and you're on Sumner Avenue. They have a production team coming in, so we'll have to steer clear of their truck. And you can see the rose window up top. All right, inside it must look quite gorgeous, and in the front they have statuary and ornamentation. You might call it a medium-sized church. It's not incredibly large because the Episcopal religion was never incredibly large. Okay, we'll get a better look at the statuary in the front here. It looks like Jesus, maybe Doubting Thomas, maybe Judas. Okay, and then they have a cornerstone here. It says 1928. It was finished 1929. And yes, the stone is granite rock almost throughout. I do see some whiter ones, which might just be white granite. It's hard to tell. Okay, now this here is the bell tower going up. And I do hear it once in a while, and I think I see the bells inside, but they might be amplified by amplifiers inside. It's hard to tell. There's a screen in front of them. And then you have 5 larger stained glass windows on both sides, and the roof is a slate roof throughout. Okay. And then towards the back of this, you have a Trinity Memorial Garden. That's a place where you can scatter the ashes of a loved one. And this garden right here, thus, will have people buried inside of it. Okay, and then back here you have the hall. The community hall was built second. The chapel came in 1924. The community hall next to it, attached to it, came in 1925. The bell tower came in 1928, and the church started being built in 1928 and finished in 1929 and started being used that year over the chapel. All right, and it also has two statues above the portal and beautiful sized window. This might be a church in a neo-Gothic style, and same with the bell tower, but the community hall and most of the chapel is in a neo-Tudor or a Elizabethan style. Then the front of the chapel goes back to being Gothic. All right, and why not mix them? Okay, and this is the front of the chapel. You get in from the left side, but you can see the very front right here, and the front uses again the neo-Gothic style. All right, so I'll give you a panoramic from this point. And this is a church at the edge of a park. Forest Park is right to our side here. An enormous park. By far the largest park in the Connecticut River Valley. It's an enormous place. Up this street, which is Oakland Street, there's the Kodomo Congregational Synagogue, and there's a school across the street. There's also another church up there. So this is Church Alley. And so there's a lot on this street, Sumner Avenue, and there's a lot around the campus of this beautiful church. And you can see towards the back, they use the Elizabethan style on these back windows here. So the front might be Gothic, but the back, they knew it was going to be a community house, so they started using the Elizabethan style. Very fancy. And then imagine having for your backyard an enormous park. Okay, and they use the same kind of masonry stone throughout, the granite, to great effects. And back here you can truly see the Elizabethan style. This is the house where they have their classrooms. And it's Elizabethan throughout. Beautiful. Okay, and you can see the bell tower along the side. And then it enters the location where the church is going to be. Okay, and you even have a path back out of here towards the Forest Park area. Okay, so thank you for coming along on this beautiful walk around this Trinity campus.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast, Canal Days, What Life Was Like in the Industrial Connecticut River Valley of Massachusetts. I'm your host, Carrie, and joining us today is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Camus. He personally offers and leads public and private tours, as well as presentations of historical sites within communities throughout the state of Massachusetts. Currently, the communities he has chosen to focus on this year are Holyoke, Chicopee, South Hadley, and East Hampton, and also Granby and Amherst as well. His tours spotlight the local canals, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks, streets, and selected historical houses within each community. Today's episode will be discussing the Trinity Methodist Episcopal Church, located in Springfield. So tell us about the Trinity Methodist Episcopal Church.
Alright, this is a nice campus. It's located at 361 Sumner Avenue. Very easy to find. It's at the entrance almost to Forest Park. And so what we're going to talk about today is this church and campus. And then we're also going to talk about its special little bell tower and about Forest Park, which is in there. It's not a church inside a park, but it almost looks like it is. All right, so the church includes not only the church, but a chapel, a bell tower, and a community house. The chapel at the far right is called the Grace Chapel. All right, now they were built, the church campus was built from 1924 to 1928. All right, the hall was built first and used as the first place for religious activities, including the masses, in 1924. Then the chapel was built in 1925. The tower, the bell tower, in fact, is 1928. And then the church is from 1929. And that finished off and everything was complete. All right, you can see it's very large and beautiful, and most people appreciate it. Most people on Sumner Avenue driving by, speed by and not taking the beauty. So I wish that you would stop, park on one of the side streets, and just roam around this campus and see how well put together this gorgeous church is.
And now tell us the years that these components came around.
Okay, now if you look at the order I just gave them, how do they make sense? Well, the hall was built in 1924 first, and that would function as everything for a few years. So it would be the equivalent of the church and chapel, all right? And they would also would hold social activities within there, including after mass activities and evening activities to have prayer reading and so forth. The next one that came around was a chapel next to it. Right, and the chapel is on the far right beyond that social hall. It's called Grace Chapel. And now, so what's happening is that the chapel, you could hold the mass in there, and then next to it you have the social hall, which is already built. So you have two things going. Now, the next thing that is finished off is the bell tower from 1928. And that would allow, of course, to have beautiful chime music. And you probably have an organ in a church chapel, a smaller one. So you can have a lot of music going. And then finally, the church started early on. It's finished in 1929, has the first mass then. And so you have all the activities that a Protestant church would have. And thus, you have separate buildings for everything you want to have. Now, Methodist Episcopal is really Episcopal with a blend of Methodism put into it. It was a denomination started up in Baltimore, Maryland, and it spread across the United States. And a lot of communities will have these Methodist Episcopal churches, and a lot of people won't know what they do. So if you read up upon it, you'll get a better look at what it's all about. Methodism means is a method to your prayers, your mass style, your philosophy of religion, so forth. And Episcopal is itself the former Anglican Church of England come to America.
And real quick, before we continue with the rest of our interview, just to fill our listeners in, if you want to sign up for various tours, you can check out his website at holyokecanaltour.org. And there you can find videos and podcasts of the stops on each of his tours, as well as photos and texts of the historical sites throughout as well. And for private tours and other inquiries, you can email him directly at bobcat4214, capital B, @yahoo.com. And his tours make for fun, educational, outdoor activities for families and group parties. So getting back to our interview, tell us about the bell tower.
All right, this beautiful bell tower has a 61 bell chime in it. These chimes are very tiny bells, 61 of them, and each of them will have a different kind of tone to them and melody to it, so forth. and now give it the very unique sound that when they're all going, it makes for very beautiful music. So for that reason, it would be great if you went there during the Mass and heard this. And sometimes they play it, and even at certain times, so you get to hear it. And it's quite a beautiful sound. There's another chime tower in Springfield, a cemetery, a Hillcrest Park Cemetery. And so you'll get two places in the same community where most communities don't have any of them.
And what are the surroundings of the campus?
Now, the Trinity Methodist Episcopal Church is embedded into the area of the Forest Park. And so right behind it, you have this gigantic 1 square mile park. And basically, you can go from the church into the park on a Sunday morning or afternoon. And what a beautiful arrangement. And it really, the architectural look of the church really blends in well with the trees just beyond it. And the whole spirit of it is very unique. There's not many churches in a park, especially such a gigantic park as Forest Park itself. So Springfield has something really unique going. And it's celebrating this 100th year anniversary for its various components over the next 5 years. So hopefully they're going to have an outdoor tour around here, and of course they're going to talk about how it fits so well to Forest Park. Thank you.
And thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours and historical topics of your expertise. And we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And you can check out a large selection of his other podcasts on his website as well as on SoundCloud.com. And be sure to stay up to date with new podcasts and videos posted daily. Thank you, and hope you join us again.